Alright, hey gang, welcome back to the channel. We're going to continue on our Mercruiser rebuild, Chevy 153 for the Land Rover swap, the Scotty swap. So, today in this video, we're just going to do a couple of random things. We're going to fix a couple things on the engine that I found from whenever it was running, and just a couple of things. And then also, we're going to be doing umbrella seals on the valves. We'll talk about that further along in the video, but I never even knew these existed. So, thank you for liking and subscribing and following along. Enjoy the video, and I'll see you at the end. So the engine did its break-in. It's cooled down now. This is a couple days later. So I found a couple things we need to fix. So I made a gasket to go in between the manifold and the intake, and it popped right here, and you could hear the exhaust coming out of here. So I ordered a new gasket for that so I could fix that and replace that. And then while it was running, after it was running, I noticed that down here, you can see in there, that it's actually right here around the water pump down through here. I could feel that it's like some moisture down through here, or it looked like it was something was running down there. Like you can kind of see the sealant. So I'm going to take this off, and I got some water pump sealant to actually put on here, and the water pump as well, just to make sure it doesn't leak, because I really don't want to put this all in and then have leaks and things like that. So I figure while the engine's out, I can do all the work now. It should be a lot easier. So that's what I'm going to work on, sealing up the water pump and the thermostat housing, just to make sure it doesn't leak in the future. And then the exhaust one. But other than that, it ran really good, even with my sloppy water flying everywhere. I had a leak in the radiator right here in a hole, so I had to keep the hose running. But up here, the hose was warm when the water was coming out, and the thermostat opened, and it worked. And then it got real hot, then it cooled down. But down here, when it was going back into the engine, it was real nice and cool. Not cool, but you know what I mean. But it was cooled down. So it was rotating the water perfectly. It was keeping a good temperature. I still want to work on the timing. I'll get the timing set too. We'll have to start that up and take a look at it. So I'm going to work on this, and then I'll be back. I made a mark on each of the push rods. And I'm going to see when I crank the engine, I'm going to run it with the starter and see if they start spinning. If they're spinning, that means that the tappet's been broken in pretty good with the cam. This isn't official, but I just want to see if it's good. They're going to rotate like they should. All right, let's try this again without shooting gasoline out of the fuel pump. Yeah, they're all spinning, so they're working. You can see now all the paint's gone because it spun them around. That's pretty good. So I'm about to reinstall the intake manifold. So the kit that I got came with a new gasket, and the gasket, one side is steel and the other side is just the material. So I'm going to assume that the chrome side goes down towards, the steel side goes towards the exhaust manifold. Then the cloth, or the other side of it, will go towards the manifold, intake manifold. So that's what I'm going to do. So we'll see how this goes. So I installed the intake manifold. I didn't need to show you that. You already saw that in another video. So that's installed back on the engine. But before we start it up or go for another little test run or whatever, we're going to be installing, it's called umbrella seals, the valve umbrella seals. They go right in between the spring and they ride on the valve. I'm going to put up a little picture right here. So in order to change these, you need to I don't want to pull the head off or anything like that. So to replace these, oh, let me tell you the reasoning why I'm replacing these. So when I took that manifold off, I looked up inside the head, and I don't have a picture or a video of it or anything, but up inside, like the intake and more of the intake, or oil was actually coming down from the valves, like where the valve guides would be, since they really don't have valve guides in these. So the valve guides had some oil in there where it was kind of sucking down through, and the oil was kind of splashing up over. So then the research started going on, and I talked to a fella at work too, and he talked about, he's very good with Chevy engines, and he said about umbrella seals. So I bought these at Napa. They were very cheap at Napa, and the guys will know what you're looking for. But let's see, they say made in USA. Can't remember the part number. It's 631, I think, is the part number on there. But anyways, so what you have to do to install these. I don't want to remove the head. I don't want to do any of that. So what you have to do is you have to put some compressed air into the cylinder. And then we'll use this tool to compress the spring. So what I did is, this is your regular compressor, but your compression check for your engine. Check your compression. So what I did is, I'm going to use this to go into the spark plug hole. Then I went up to the hardware store and I got an adapter for, I think this is a 1/8 NPT right here, I think it is, into, I think, a 1/4 inch or something, like, or 3/4 or something, 3/8 for the compressor fitting. So then we have an attachment. So then I also have this with a little gauge on it, just so I could see how much air is going in. So I'm going to show all you this on the engine, so it might be confusing now, but we can put compressed air now with this into the spark plug hole with this. And then we use this, and we'll crank it down to compress the spring. And then while the air is filling it up, we can take the spring off, and we can put this onto the valve, and then we'll be ready to roll. So, of course, you have to take the rocker arms off, so those aren't in the way or anything. So this is the tool I'm going to be using, and these are the tools, and this is what we're going to be replacing. So let's go get to work to actually replacing these. Turn on the compressed air. Now we have pressure into the cylinder. Now we can use the compressor tool, the spring compressor tool. We'll put that on, and what I did is I kind of centered it, or I put the teeth, or the bottom part of the spring holder, down as far as I could on the lowest ring of the spring, so I would get the most compression on it. And then I pinched the sides and I just cranked down on it, and then it started coming up and out. So I started compressing the spring. So as I was tightening the spring and it was going up, it started getting louder. So then I realized the valve wasn't seated. So here you can listen to the sound. Now that the valve was actually seated back up in, and there's no more air leak, and the volume went way down, you could tell a difference in the sound. So now I just kind of pushed down on the spring itself, the tool, and then I could take the keepers out. Took each keeper out. Then you can see the spring there is compressed. And then I delicately took the seal, the valve seal, the original O-ring type valve seal. I took that off. And then here's our actual umbrella seal. Make sure when you're holding it, you drop it on the floor and then pick it back up and put some oil on it and clean it up and get it ready to put on. I did put oil on the inside and the outside of it, just so it wasn't going on there dry and get stuck or anything. So you push it down over past where that O-ring was sitting, down into there, down all the way down to the valve guide, in quotes, that piece that sticks up. And then the next thing, once you get that seated and kind of straightened up, then you take the spring As it's compressed, you can see there, and put that back on. And then you grab your O-ring, your original O-ring. I'm not sure if you're supposed to put it on or not, but I left it on because it rides right by the keepers. So I don't think it's going to disrupt the actual seal, the umbrella seal. So I put that in delicately. I used the little screwdriver here to just kind of push it down on there, but you don't want to rip it or break it or anything. So just be careful doing that. The next thing, we'll grab our keepers. We can put those back in. Put on one on each side. Then once we get the keepers in, then we can loosen up the tool itself and reseat the spring down in, and then the keepers will reseat and all that stuff. So then that'll be ready to roll. Let's watch me spin the handle. Okay, so that's a job done, and now only 7 more to go, and then we'll be ready to roll. So why don't we get this done and fire this sucker up? Yeah. I'm gonna stamp and mark that engine as done and finished and running really good. So it starts up real good, the temperature's good, oil pressure's good, the exhaust is now quiet, which is really nice too, so it revs up real nice. So I'm gonna say the engine's done. So one other thing I did notice is that the coil, it has that external resistor on it. That was probably the biggest headache starting the engine, is using that. So once I bypassed that, it fired right up like directly. So I don't think it was getting a good spark. So we'll see how the resistor plays out in the long run. But the engine's done. I'm super happy with it. I'm very, very happy with the engine and the way it turned out. So let's get the engine. We'll put that to the side. We'll get this Rover back into the garage, and then we'll be pulling the engine out, and let's get started on the actual swap itself. So the next video will be probably taking the old engine out, and we'll do a little bit. I'm not really sure, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm very happy. I'm ecstatic. I'm ready to go and get this diesel engine out and get that Mercruiser in here. So follow along, like, subscribe, and stay awesome, because you are awesome. All right, see you later.